Hello, everybody. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese out here in the beautiful but sometimes rainy Pacific Northwest. And if you want to help me think through these thinking routines, please ping me at the Duolingo Educators Network or in the Minecraft Education Ambassadors or the Minecraft Teachers Lounge, or hit me up at studio-nemo.com. I am working my way through the Harvard Project Zero thinking routines, coming up with ways to use them in my world language classroom. And today we're on See, Think, Me, We, which is part of the Digging Deeper into Ideas section. And again, these thinking routines are located here, pz.harvard.edu/thinking-routines. Now, even though I say that digging deeper into ideas is where you find See, Think, Me, We, it's actually a very popular one, and they also reuse it in introducing and exploring ideas, in perspective taking, and in exploring art, images, and objects. So they like this one a lot. I like it too. It's a good one. All right, so this is a routine for connecting to the bigger picture. Let's start by talking about when you're teaching grammar. Maybe you've got a pop-up grammar lesson, you're using the grammar translation method, you're using the audiolingual method, and you're doing some transformation drills, and the students need a little more explanation. You're doing community language learning, and you're dissecting a script that your class wrote, or you're working straight out of your textbook. This is how you're going to want to hit this up for some grammar support. If my cursor will reappear, there it is. All right, so this thinking routine is perfect for easy descriptive sentences, and you want to make the students use every single adjective that they know. In your word bank, if you're using a Romance language, make sure to put an indefinite article or a definite article in front of every single word, and that way the students aren't asking you, is this masculine or feminine? And when they're matching the adjectives, you can just point. You don't have to say anything. Just point to the point to the une, point to the le, whatever happens, then your students know. And it's better support for them, okay? Students are also going to need comparatives. They're probably going to want to say, I am as blank as something, or they're going to say blank is similar to me, or blank is like me, or I am like blank, whatever. So make sure that they have that support too in your word bank. So when they make connections to themselves, they're going to get that really crucial novice ACTFL level or CEFR level, those I statements that we always start off with. So they need that practice. For languages where your I verbs conjugate differently, this is really, really solid review. So my Spanish students, they don't need it quite so much because, there's only 4 verbs that don't end with O on the I statement. But the French students, somewhere around the middle of the second semester, they begin to get confused because everything sounds alike, but they're all spelled very, very differently. So I just randomly chose. We've got croire, to believe, je crois, tu crois, il croit, 3 silent letters here. They all sound exactly alike. So many of my students will just overcorrect and they just start mixing up the spelling. So this kind of thinking routine is really good to reinforce those spelling conventions. Handy sentence frames you're going to want to make sure that your students have. I see. They need to be able to say I see. I'm going to talk to you about music and how great this is with music too. So make sure they know I hear, make sure they know I think that. And like I said, they're going to need the comparatives. They're going to want to say I am like this because, I am more than this because, or this is similar to me, or whatever. But they need those. Okay. For some languages, you're going to be dealing with the subjunctive. Now, I teach mostly first and second year, and I don't want to deal with the subjunctive. So I just start singing If I Were a Rich Man, or I Wish I Wasn't Dixie, and I say, wait till third year, and then we're really going to get into this. But for right now, I'm going to turn a blind eye. You just keep writing, keep speaking. I don't care what comes out of your mouth as far as subjunctive comes. Okay, but for Japanese, I think it's really important, and these are not hard sentences. These are not hard grammatical constructions. Make sure when you're talking about what you think somebody else feels, this is a very important part of the Japanese culture, that you can't be so audacious as to say, I know what he's thinking. So you've got to use some forms. You've got to say it looks like he thinks, it appears like. And so I make sure that I teach those because those are not difficult. You just slap those on at the end of the sentence and it's fine. The second part of this routine is we move to we forms. So this is really golden as you're teaching that really, really crucial conjugation for those languages that have conjugation. Okay, so you're really going to pound in that there's a difference between j'entends and nous entendons, and they'll get really used to those the new verb endings for each one. I always have students write first and then turn and talk, and that way when they turn and talk, they have the crutch of whatever they wrote right in front of themselves. All right, when teaching literature, culture, history, art, if you got a food lesson, whatever else you want to throw in there, I like to do this with a paint program. It's actually not even a paint program. It's Active Inspire, which is what I'm using right now. But any paint program will do. I have some artwork that I want to show the students, and I want them to be able to look at the artwork and make relevance to themselves from the artwork. So I show them the artwork, and then before class has begun, I have taken the artwork and I trace over it. Okay, just make these nice black lines tracing over all the pieces of it. And before class begins, I have a copy now where I have erased the actual artwork behind it and I just have the tracing. Now I photocopy the tracing and I hand that out to the students, and the students get to write all over it. So they can draw dotted lines between things, they can draw arrows, they can draw thought bubbles, whatever it is that they need to show some connection to things, okay? So they can draw, label, caption, basically. But I've already given them the outline of everything. For the think part, I have them draw thought balloons and arrows pointing to the pieces that they're thinking about. And then for the me part, I just have them draw a little stick figure in the margin next to the picture. And they can draw arrows from themselves to the thing, or they can draw more thought balloons, or however they want to handle it. But that way they're connecting everything. This makes it very relevant. Now, I know that this thinking routine starts with C, but I want to implore you to consider using it with music. I think it's great with music, okay? Have the students describe what they hear. You know, there's so many different instruments that we don't use in the United States. Now's your chance to introduce them. You know, we've got vivo, we've got the kora, we've got the taiko drum, castanets. I mean, capitalize on that. There's going to be chord progressions that we don't normally hear in the United States. There's going to be tonalities that we don't hear a lot. There's going to be vocal techniques that we don't use in the United States. So bring that in, because that's all a cool discussion of culture. You can find a catchy folk song that has vocabulary that you want to teach anyway. Or a dance, a folk dance that, you know, whenever your students start yawning, you just start singing the song and they'll jump up and they'll start the folk dance because it'll be like comfort food to them. So I do really like this routine for that. In our next episode, we're going to talk about step inside, perceive, know about, care about. Hope to see you then.